Hey everybody, if you've got an entry-level gravel bike and you're looking to make those first budget-friendly upgrades to really take your ride to the next level, stick around and I'll share with you 3 of what I believe are the most impactful upgrades for the money. So on the stand here, I have my buddy Eric's Base Specialized Diverge. It's an alloy frame with a carbon fork, and it's a really solid bike, but the components are really entry-level, and he's just looking to take this bike to the next level without breaking the bank. Now I know this is a list of budget upgrades, but generally speaking, stock wheels and tires are going to be really heavy and almost an afterthought in most cases. For instance, on this Base Diverge, we have this set of generic Axis wheels with the Specialized Pathfinder Sport tires. So anything we can do to lighten these wheels up and offer a better road feel is going to go a long way. So what we're using for this upgrade is a set of Ritchie Comp Zeta disc wheels, which are remarkably affordable, and the difference in ride quality is just going to be huge compared to stock. And then we're also going to throw on a set of Panaracer Gravel King SK tires in size 700C by 43 millimeters, which is going to be much wider than the stock tires, which are 38 millimeters wide. And in my experience, these tires in particular offer a much better ride feel, and the increased width is going to offer a little bit more grip, but this sort of minimal blocky tread pattern is still going to roll really fast. Now eventually we're going to convert to tubeless on Eric's bike, but right now all we're going to do is swap over the inner tubes and the disc rotors to the new wheel and tire combo. So one of the things to look out for when you're upgrading wheels is to make sure you get a compatible disc rotor mounting system. So the stock wheels on Eric's Diverge use a 6-bolt disc rotor pattern, as opposed to the more updated center lock disc rotor mounting system. So we just had to make sure that the Ritchie Zeta disc wheels are also 6-bolt, which they are. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you do plan to go tubeless in the future, remember that it's not the rim that dictates tubeless compatibility, it's the tire. Now, the Panaracer Gravel King SKs are a symmetric tread pattern, so they're not directional, but other tires are, so just make sure that you're paying attention to the direction of the tread, making sure the bead is set. It's a little spot right here. There we go. Very cool. Eventually we are going to upgrade brakes as well, but for now, stock rotors will be fine. Now these are Tektro rotors, so we just want to make sure to go between 5 and 7 Newton meters. And the one thing you may have to do is realign the brake calipers if the hubs are slightly different from wheel to wheel. Oh, but in this case we actually got lucky. The caliper spacing is exactly where we need it to be. And we're done with the front. Now for the rear wheel, we are gonna have to swap over the cassette, but other than that, the process is exactly the same as the front. Just need our cassette tool, chain whip, and an adjustable wrench. So that's the finished wheel. Honestly, it's really straightforward. The only sort of specialty tool you'll need is a cassette tool and a chain whip so that you can swap the cassette over from the old wheel to the new wheel. Hopefully we won't have to adjust the caliper on the rear one either. I think we're in luck. Nice. So the new wheels and tires are installed, and honestly that's going to be the most challenging upgrade of the 3. Now the next upgrade on the list of budget upgrades to an entry-level gravel bike is actually going to be the handlebars. Now the stock Base Diverge here comes with really narrow handlebars. The top section is just straight across and there's no flare. And because gravel riding is so much more demanding and technical than road riding, one of the easiest things you can do to improve the handling of your gravel bike is to swap out the bars to something a little bit more suited to off-road riding. Now these here are the fan favorite Ritchie Venture Max handlebar, which I actually have on 3 of my gravel bikes. But the thing that makes these particular bars different is that these are from the new RL1 series of components, which are a budget-friendly line of components from Ritchie for budget-minded customers looking to upgrade their bikes. Now, these handlebars give you the same shape as all of the other Venture Max in the series. They're just a touch heavier than the other models, but at a fraction of the price. Now, swapping the handlebars may seem like a daunting task, but if all you're doing is swapping the actual handlebar, it's actually a pretty straightforward process because you don't have to do any recabling. And honestly, the trickiest part about this is probably going to be retaping the handlebars, which is really not that bad. We are going to remove the controls, but we're not going to open up any of the cables. You can just slide the controls off, and you can just let these dangle. Just make sure they're not scratching up the frame or anything like that. And now you have access to the bare handlebar, which is just held on by the 4 faceplate bolts on the stem. And for reference, here's the stock handlebar compared to the new Venture Max. So the Venture Max itself is a little bit wider at the hoods. More importantly, in the drops, it flares out to give you a little bit more control when you're descending. So just go ahead and install the new handlebar. Not exactly sure where these are going to be yet, so we'll just kind of tack them down roughly. Then we can go ahead and slide the controls back on. Now once you have everything roughed in, you kind of actually want to set the bike on the ground, and this is actually the time when you want to dial in your handlebar rotation as well as where the controls are mounted on the handlebar. Because once you have the handlebars taped up, there's a little bit of wiggle room, but not as much as when the bars are untaped. So at this point we do want to retape the handlebars. Now you have your choice. You can reuse the old tape if you'd like, but brand new tape doesn't cost that much and it can really freshen up the bike as well. So you can't really go wrong with Ritchie stuff. This race bar tape I've used in the past. It just has a really nice feel to it. There's really good grip and there's some nice shock absorption as well. Now I do have an entire video on how to tape handlebars, so I'm not going to do an explainer here, but you can check out that video up here. You definitely want to take the time to torque down the shifters as well as the handlebars to the stem, as well as the stem to the fork steer tube. Shimano STI style shifters get 6 to 8 Newton meters, and stem faceplate bolts and stem pinch bolts usually get about 5 Newton meters, but definitely check the manufacturer's specification for those torque specs. Now the third most impactful upgrade is definitely the easiest one to swap out by far, but that's going to be the pedals. In Eric's case here, he's been running these old alloy platform pedals, which are okay for just cruising around town, but in all honesty, the platform on these pedals is just not big enough or supportive enough for some of the gravel trails that we like to ride. So if you ride flat pedals for something on the order of $40, you can upgrade to something like this. Now these are just the basic 1-up platform pedals that I run on some of my mountain bikes, but a nice wide grippy platform pedal like this is going to benefit a gravel bike for all the same reasons that it benefits a mountain bike. Alright, well there you have it. Those are, in my opinion, the 3 most impactful yet semi-budget friendly upgrades that you can make on an entry-level gravel bike to take it to that next level. Now of course everyone's always curious about weight. We did save a little bit of weight here with this new setup, somewhere on the order of 150 or 200 grams. Nothing major, but that's not really the point of these upgrades. Between the new wheels, the new tires, the wider handlebars, and the new pedals, the main point was to make the bike a little bit more comfortable and a lot more capable for the gravel rides that we generally do. Now we do have some future plans for Eric's bike, including a tubeless conversion and potentially a drivetrain upgrade, so be on the lookout for that. So what do you think about these upgrades? Let us know down in the comments what you would upgrade first on an entry-level gravel bike. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.